بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. We greet you on this, the 12th day of the blessed month of Ramadan with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It was an absolutely beautiful day today of dazzling sunshine as I drove from Glasgow to the Scottish city of Dundee. And I am here in Dundee tonight after, I think, maybe 6 years. I was here 6 years ago. And I came to Dundee simply because a student of mine, a Pakistani student of mine, lives here in Dundee, and he wanted me to come for iftar. And his wife prepared the best iftar I've had for the whole of Ramadan so far. And then he said to me, Sheikh, Pakistan is in a perilous state, and could you kindly record a video for Pakistan, giving some guidance, offering your guidance to the people of Pakistan at this critical moment. And I said, surely I'll do that, inshallah, because I have a lot to thank the people of Pakistan for, because I studied in Pakistan. The poor people of Pakistan gave their money to establish the institution where I studied, the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in Karachi. And as a student, we got a stipend. It was 125 rupees per month. And you had to make do with that 125 rupees every month as your scholarly stipend. Of course, the rest was went to pay for the school fees and so on. We didn't have to pay that. So I have much to thank the people of Pakistan for my education. I also studied Karachi University, and I had very good teachers there. I thank Allah for that. And so now this is my message to Pakistan at this critical time. Remember, I am not only a scholar of Islamic studies, study of the Quran, but I'm also a scholar of philosophy, and I'm also a scholar of international affairs, international relations. And I want to begin with a philosophical comment. And that is, from my perspective, I'm probably the originator of Islamic eschatology in the modern age. Eschatology, of course, is the study of the end time, the end of history. From my perspective as an Islamic eschatologist, I see that this is to be a turning point in history. That we are not located at an ordinary event, an ordinary moment in the movement in history. No, we are located now at a turning point in history. That history, which so far has been moving in one direction, is now going to begin to move in another direction. That is what I mean by a turning point in history. It was the brilliance of my teacher, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari. I left Al-Azhar University in Egypt to come to study with him in Pakistan. And this was the best decision I ever took in my life. This is the greatness of that man, that teacher of mine, that he brought a scholar to teach me while I was a student, to teach me the philosophy of history. Is that subject taught in any Darul Uloom? How can we respond to the call of Dr. Muhammad Iqbal? You call him Allama Iqbal. I say great men don't need titles. I call him Dr. Muhammad Iqbal. He called for a reconstruction of religious thought in Islam. Are you aware of that? Is Pakistan remembering that? The Dr. Iqbal called for a reconstruction of religious thought in Islam because the existing Islamic scholarship was not sufficient, was defective and deficient. The existing world of Islamic scholarship 100 years ago, 100 years later, nothing has changed, nothing. except that from Dr. Iqbal emerged my teacher, who did more than anyone else to respond to Dr. Iqbal's call for a reconstruction of religious thought in Islam. And I am the student of Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari. And this, in the end time of my life, every day is spent in this work, reconstruction of religious thought in Islam. That's what I'm doing. So he brought a teacher to teach me the philosophy of history at the Alimi Institute of Islamic Studies in Karachi. This is part of the reconstruction of religious thought. Because I was taught the philosophy of history, and in addition, the Islamic philosophy of history as derived from the Quran, I could understand what is happening in the world today. I could recognize the movement of history, the direction of the movement of history, and the change that is taking place at this time, and recognize it as a turning point of history. Let me spend a minute, if you don't mind. Is history moving in a cycle? Is it a cyclic movement of history? Or is history moving in a straight line, a linear movement of history? You know who are the two people who have these two views. For those who believe that history is moving as a cyclic movement of history, they are also the view that this is a moment of change. They consider this to be the end of one cycle. They do that. For us on this side who say, no, history is moving in a linear direction. Well then, is it moving upwards? Or is it moving downwards? Or is it moving horizontal? My teacher, even my teacher of the philosophy of history, Dr. Burhan Ahmad Farooqi, rahimahullah, he even introduced a new term. He says, is it moving in a zigzag direction, sometimes so and sometimes so, up and down, up and down, up and down. We are of the view that history is moving in a direction which will culminate with the absolute triumph of truth over all rivals. And that the most important event now remaining to occur in history is not the inauguration of a British king. No. It's not the next US general elections in 2024, whether Trump will be there or not. The most important event now remaining to occur in history is the return of the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And it is because of his return, this is why there is also another event to occur. Let me repeat that so you'll understand it. It is because of the return of the Nabi Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, the son of Mary, who came and left and is going to come back. Because of his return, that is why there is an Imam al-Mahdi to emerge in this community of Muslims. Have you heard that? Do you understand that? I know Iran will not accept what I've said, but that doesn't matter. And so when Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns, then the state will be established as ordained by Allah. This is not the time for me to teach you the study of politics from the Quran. or economics from the Quran. We do that elsewhere. But when he returns, there won't be any Pakistan anymore. There most certainly won't be any Saudi Arabia anymore. So what are you going to do with your Pakistani nationalism and your Arab nationalism? What are you going to do with your African nationalism? Because you're not going to be secular states anymore. When Jesus returns, it is the holy state which will be restored. That holy state was established by Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, the Prophet David, in Jerusalem. And Allah speaks of it in the Quran. And that holy state was restored by Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessing be upon him, in Medina. And Pakistan is blessed to have a political leader today who yesterday was a great cricketer. You know, I come from Trinidad, and in the West Indies we play a lot of cricket. We produce Brian Lara. I'm from Brian Lara's country, so we know about cricket. And we in the Caribbean, we have great respect for Imran Khan as a cricketer, and for the Pakistani cricket team that came to Trinidad and to the Caribbean many times. But this is a political leader now who says, I'm talking about Imran Khan, who despite being a cricketer and having studied in Oxford University, yet has not been so corrupted as to forget Medina. No, he's not forgotten Medina. And this is a political leader who has said to Pakistan that we want to revive the model of Medina. And for that I want to say to Pakistan, I compliment him, and I want you to ensure you don't lose such a leader, because you may never have another one. This is a turning point in history, because the last 300 years of our history has seen history moving in one direction, and that is to Washington, and before that to London. It was Pax Britannica all the way. And then when Pax Britannica ran out of steam, it was replaced by Pax Americana. It was always bloodstained. It was always relentless oppression. It was always stealing the wealth of the world and making themselves wealthy. But more than that, they didn't want to be simply rich. More than that, they wanted to enslave us. And so for 300 years, we have weathered the storm of slavery. Not only political enslavement, but also economic enslavement. And if you look at our universities, you can also see intellectual enslavement. You can see linguistic enslavement when you have to look down at your own native language, despise your own native language, and take pride in speaking the language of the slave master. I resent the fact that even my thinking is done in English, because that's how I was born and brought up. But I got married in Pakistan, and I made sure that my children, my son and my daughter have grown up with Urdu as their mother tongue. So while Pakistanis may want to teach their children English and speak to their children in English, and use English only for the servant, the khansama, and display what Malcolm X called being house slaves. House slaves who identify with the slave master. I ensure that my children do not grow up like that. 300 years of slavery. And the most dangerous slavery of all, said my teacher, Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari. It was in 1965. What a long time ago. And he stood up to give a lecture, and I was a young man, 23 years of age. And I remember him saying that the most dangerous slavery of all was intellectual slavery. And then Pakistan got a leader who, despite the fact that he studied in Oxford, yet took pride in his own country and put Pakistan first. Although he could speak perfect English, you would see him speaking in Urdu. And I never saw him the way he was as a young man, with a jacket and tie and so on. I always see him dressed in the desi clothing, the local clothing. And I say to myself, mashallah, look at that. Mashallah, that I've lived long enough to see Pakistan produce such a leader. But when it came to the turning point in history, that after 300 years of Western imperial rule and colonial rule, political and economic rule, ruling by proxy over the rest of the world, especially the world of Islam, a turning point has now arrived in history. And it's a time for the people of Pakistan who listen to me to start to think. Dr. Iqbal said that for the last 300 years, this ummah has stopped thinking. So I say to you, my sons and daughters, because I'm more past 80 years of age now, so I can refer to you as my sons and daughters, it's a good time to start thinking. And when I offer my views, I always say, do not accept my views unless you are convinced that I'm correct, because I want you to think. And that's how my teacher trained me, to recognize that we are in a turning point in history. When those who are oppressing mankind with Pax Britannica and Pax Americana are now suddenly confronted by those who resist them. The resistance has come in the form of economic resistance from China, which today commands the world. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah. The resistance has come first of all in the form of economic resistance from China, which today commands the world's biggest economy. But the resistance is also coming today from Russia, which today commands the world's biggest military, the most powerful military force in the world, and which is offering also political resistance. And one of the most important events to have occurred in contemporary history is the alliance which has taken place between communist China, which is no longer communist in its economic relations at all, and Orthodox Christian Russia, which has emerged from the communist rule of the Soviet Union. This alliance emerged by surprise, and it took the oppressors by surprise. It came by lightning speed on the world stage, the alliance of Russia and China. And if Pakistan, if you don't recognize that, then you are asleep. It's time for you to wake up and recognize that this has not happened by accident. The alliance of Russia and China has come at the moment when it has come to bring about a change in the movement of history. It will no longer continue to be a world dominated by the West. Wake up. If India, Hindu India, can recognize that, why can't you in Pakistan? There is a second alliance coming. And that's the alliance which I am working for. And they will do everything in their power to try to prevent this alliance from taking place, including using all of Dajjal's warriors who wage all their bogus jihads in China, in Chechnya, and Syria, and Iraq. I make no apologies for my language. My language is straight and powerful as bullets for them. That you are bogus in your jihad. And the world of Islam says, shame on you for your jihad, your bogus jihad, your CIA-funded jihad. Don't you have any shame? That this alliance between those who follow Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, rather than following Santa Claus. You know where those who follow Santa Claus, you know how you recognize them? I don't know whether the First Minister of Scotland knows it. That a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate. That's how you recognize those bogus Christians. No, I'm not talking about the bogus Christians. I'm talking about those who truthfully and faithfully follow Jesus, even though we differ with them with the Trinity and the worship of Jesus as a second person in the triune God. Even though they do that, we recognize them to be followers of Jesus. The alliance between those who follow Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, and those who follow Nabi Muhammad, Allah's blessing be upon him, and therefore are faithful to absolute truth in the Quran. And absolute truth in the Quran has prohibited us. He made it haram for us to enter into friendship and alliance with Jews and with Christians who themselves are friends and allies of each other. It hurts you, when I speak so slowly. Let me repeat it. The alliance is between those who follow Nabi Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, the son of Mary, rather than following Santa Claus, and those who follow Muhammad, Allah's blessing be upon him, and as a consequence are faithful to absolute truth in the Quran. Absolute truth in the Quran which has prohibited Muslims from being friends and allies of Jews and of Christians who themselves are friends and allies of each other. That is what Allah has said in the Quran. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا اليهود والنصارى أولياء بعضهم أولياء بعض إلى آخر الآية. And so Turkey, you're in bad company as a member of NATO. And to the Muslims of the Balkans who are now trapped in NATO's embrace and who seem to be comfortably trapped in NATO's embrace, we say this is not part of you. You're not a part of this alliance. You're on the wrong side of history. This is the right side of history. These two alliances, the alliance of Orthodox Christian Russia with China, which has already taken place and is consolidated and it cannot be challenged, and the emerging alliance between the Christian world which follows Jesus, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, and the Muslim world which is away from NATO. We're not a part of NATO, and we don't want to be a part of NATO. These two alliances are bringing about a turn in the movement of history. And you are lucky to be alive at this moment. At this moment. Who is there in Pakistan who can forge for Pakistan tomorrow, where Pakistan will have the same friendship and alliance with Russia that it now has with China? Follow such a man. Follow such a leader. And don't follow those who remain Yankee puppy dogs, who want to read what Pakistan must constantly submit to a leadership which is decided upon in Washington. That Washington must choose who leads Pakistan. The IMF must choose who must be leading Pakistan. The ambassadors of the Western countries in Islamabad, they must choose who must lead Pakistan. Is Pakistan a slave state? I say to you, on this blessed night of Ramadan, I don't know whether you will have another chance, that you should take charge of this moment in history to ensure that you utilize this opportunity you have while you have a leader. I'm not saying that Imran Khan has all the knowledge that he needs. No, he's deficient in many things. And if Allah blesses me, and if he opens the door for me, I'm prepared to help him. But he must open the door for me. I'm not going to push my way in. This is in the moment that you have a leader. You have a leader who is capable of taking Pakistan on the right direction as history is turning. Do not allow them to threaten his life. Protect him with your lives. Even if you have to die, protect him with your lives. Because if he is assassinated, Pakistan will have civil war. And what happened in Iran 40-something years ago will return to Pakistan. And the armed forces in Pakistan tell me, you can tell them, you can kill 1 million Pakistanis, but you will never succeed. You'll never succeed in a war against the people. I want to repeat this to the Pakistan armed forces. You can kill 1 million Pakistanis, but you cannot succeed in any war that you wage against the people. For in the end of it, the truth will be triumphant. I pray that this blessed Pakistan, this blessed moment on this blessed night of Ramadan in Pakistan, as I speak to you from distant Scotland, in Britain, so far away, may Allah take my words to you, that you may recognize you are at a particular moment in history which is important and crucial. And Allah has given you a leader who is adequate to be able to take the caravan forward at this time. And may Allah protect Imran Khan, and may Allah bless him to be able to lead Pakistan once again. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa